you literally need to have your fitness in order, your nutrition in order, and good sleep. That will solve 99% of all problems. And I think the problem is oftentimes we do like productive procrastination almost. It's like wanting to get loads of data and loads of information. It's like, it reminds me of like tidying up my bedroom, but instead of revising for an exam, you know? You just got to revise for the exam and get it over and done with it.
From scrappy founders to 8-figure success stories, we're busting startup myths, getting raw insights from market-tested entrepreneurs, and revealing the proven playbook for bootstrapping your B2B startup to 5 million. This is the Startup Different podcast. This week, we delve into the entrepreneurial journey of Anthony Ng Monica, founder of Swogo and current CEO of Daily Body Coach. Anthony shares his experiences in building successful ventures and offers valuable insights on balancing personal wellness with the demands of entrepreneurship. Welcome to Startup Different. Hello, folks, and welcome to Startup Different. I am David Singleton. Here is Christopher. Chris, how are you doing? And Anthony is also joining us today. Anthony, how are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, we're delighted to have you. Obviously, with the accent, you can tell not quite from North America. Where are you calling us from today?
I'm calling from London, UK.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Not London, Ontario, Canada, which is also
no, just to be clear.
It's also a fabulous London, not to diss any of the people in London, Ontario. Actually, we have quite a few listeners there, I think,
absolutely.
As we've learned. Anthony, so happy you could join us. Very interesting journey. I don't want to spoil too much, but we did a little bit in the intro, but I want you to obviously tell us the story behind the story. So how did we go from being sort of like a SaaS entrepreneur to exiting that business to where you are today? Can you take us there?
Yeah, of course. So I think my entrepreneurial journey started really when I was around 10 to 12 years old, like a lot of people. What I did was I started selling pirated software on eBay.
Nice.
Made a good amount of money doing that.
Like Windows or like...
I'm not going to disclose that. But it was basically a software that would allow you to duplicate CDs and DVDs. Nice. I found a key gen online and I was selling the serial keys basically on eBay and undercutting everyone. Nice. That's how it began. It was pretty good. It had really good margins on it. I realized that, that was illegal and probably not a good idea to do that. Sure. I then wanted to come up with another way to try and make some money. And what I did was I scraped the yellow pages and started trying to basically find people that I could sell a new website to. So these were kind of WordPress websites where small businesses weren't able to update their websites at the time. And I would outsource that to basically kids my age that were actually based out in North America and take a cut of that. Just my cut was pretty large. So
this is pretty interesting. Hold on. Yeah. Wait, what year is that? What year is this happening?
I was young. I don't know, probably like 14, 15, something like this.
Hey, we're taking a short break to tell you some exciting news. Chris and I wrote a book. Surprise! It's called Startup Different, the myth-busting blueprint for your multi-million-dollar business, and it's available now. Like our show, we're trying to pay it forward to our fellow entrepreneurs. The book busts 33 business myths, tells some of our most hilarious stories, and gives you many of our best tools to build, scale, and exit your business. You'll find the book on all major online retailers, including Amazon. Check it out. We think it's pretty great. And now, back to the show. So you were 14 years old and you had a business with outsourced, I won't call them software developers, but certainly contractors in North America that are building websites.
That's right.
That's crazy, man.
I think I was walking around with papers when I was 14.
Yeah, you were a paper
is
boy.
Much harder work than what you were doing.
Yeah, and the margin.
My mum wouldn't let me do the paper route. I actually wanted to do it, but she said no, so I had to come up with something else. We'd scrape the yellow pages. Basically, I'd find companies that had a lot of reviews, which I'd assume that meant you had a lot of money or at least customers. And then I would look at the copyright message at the bottom where it says the year, all rights reserved. And if that was outdated, then I knew that you couldn't update your site or it wasn't updated. So basically, I'd then cold call you and sell a site for 1,500, and I'd keep 1.2 for me and 300 for the work. It's outsourced.
Wow, that's amazing. So wait, how many websites did you do? I'm so curious.
We're probably averaging like a couple a month. Probably averaging a couple a month. Yeah, so like about 3K a month, which was pretty good at the time. The thing I found quite difficult is I couldn't find other kids to do the cold calling like I was able to do at the time. So that was a bit of a cap.
True. Yeah, that's interesting. That's like you couldn't scale the sales and marketing apparatus of that business.
Not at all.
Only you had that hustle at that age. Okay, so all right, so we had our legal business, we had our business making websites, which is pretty clever. And so then where are we at now?
And then I started working in IT support while I was, just kind of like part-time during summer holidays. And people would ask me questions about what products to buy. So like, which laptop do you recommend, which TV, which smartphone? And I realized that people weren't experts at buying these types of products, right? And it was quite difficult to do. You'd watch like YouTube reviews, read reviews, ask your friends, go into the store, et cetera, et cetera. So I wanted to make something that people could log onto our website, ask a series of questions. It was 6 questions about the product, and we tell you which product you should buy from which retailer at the best price.
Wow,
that
also a great
actually it was a decent idea. Like, I mean, the thing is, we got 40,000 recommendations that we did in the first month just through PR. We had no marketing budget associated to it, so that was the traffic that we got in. But from the end of it, we made probably around like about £20, like $25-30 or something. So it wasn't really much. I realized that the marketing acquisition costs were too high. So what we did was basically private labeled that product and sold that directly to retailers themselves. And that industry is now called like guided selling. So we would basically be your sales assistant in store, but online, and advice from your product assortment. That got us like a few clients pretty quickly. And basically when we got to the very end of that, when I got into a meeting with a large retailer in the Netherlands, they basically said to me, when you get to the end of the recommendation, you've say recommended the laptop to our customer, can you recommend add-on items to go alongside that? So accessories, services, warranties. I gave, a kind of an answer like, yeah, it's in our roadmap, but we don't have it right now, but we're hoping to get to it at some point, kind of like la-di-da.
Classic software sales answer. It's in the roadmap.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it, Mr. Customer. It's on its way. Yeah, you should invest now.
and then I asked him, like, actually, hold on, like, why is that actually of interest to you? And he explained to me, that in store they found it really easy to cross-sell items, but online it was really difficult. And I said, okay. And delving into it some more, he said he'd make maybe 5-10% gross margin on a laptop, but he could make 70% on like services and accessories. And I was like, whoa, okay.
High margin.
There's way more money in this than I thought. So I delve a bit deeper into like, how was he currently doing it today? He said that he was manually associating one item to another. He had 50,000 products on his site. So I was like, wow, so you just do that manually one by one for 50,000? He said, no, we just give up because it's too much work. And I was just like, wait, you give up on the thing that makes you the most money? He said, yes. And I just pivoted the business like there and then in that meeting. And I said, if I could solve that for you, would you give me 15,000 to do it? He said yes. And that became our first customer doing the bundling software, which is the one we ultimately exited in March 2022.
And the name of that company was Swogo, I want to say.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Wow, very cool. So you're lots of things happening here at the same time. So first off, you had a decent business like going already. Like you were having these meetings. Clearly, you had some level of credibility. Then you get in there and you see, frankly, a bigger opportunity. These high margin accessories, added products, and so then you basically take it upon yourself. So how long did that transformation and like what does that look like? What did that feel like? Like, did you have staff at that point? Like, how did you?
I did. Yeah, probably like 7 people, I think.
Okay.
So we'd already raised a little bit of funding. We had like a few $100,000 worth of capital. The problem was basically that while we were getting some traction, it didn't feel like we were getting a lot of traction. And I felt that, like look from the other side of the table, when you're looking at a kid doing enterprise sales at like 21, 22 years old, and the guy's telling you, this is what I want. It all made sense. And he was willing to like basically give me 15,000 without any credibility really, because we don't have zero product. I knew very little about the industry at the time. I just shopped online. And that was pretty much it. So I thought, if he's going to trust me with this opportunity is way bigger than what I'm sitting on today.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Like the fact that he would be like, I'll just do it right now means that it's an unbelievably huge problem that's worth a ton of money to them. That's really cool.
And so I think there was actually one other thing as well, is that we noticed that when you're doing kind of the guided selling thing, a lot of the time when you decide like which product should I buy, you're not ready necessarily to make the commit to purchase. So for example, an average person that says which TV should I buy is 3 weeks away from making that purchase. So it could be that they're waiting for a new paycheck. It could be that they want to go see something physically or something like that. But when you're doing like add-on items, you're at the very end of the buying journey. When the customer's already committed to buy, you're just saying, here, spend another $50 with us. And that's a much easier sale. So kind of those two pieces put together was what made me decide to pivot that straight away.
Isn't there something to like just hammering home on that point? Isn't there some sort of like purchasing inertia? Like after you've like made that decision, you said yes to one thing, like sort of a compounding your point here is that then you're extremely likely to add on additional things. I'll give you, this just happened to me. Chris made a desk recommendation from a company that is not sponsoring the podcast, so I won't tell you who it is. But basically, I get to the checkout and they're like, "Hey, do you want to add like a drawer? Do you want to add the power bar that goes underneath the desk? It's a standing desk, that whole thing." And I was like, "Yeah, like I want those things. Why not? It's an extra. It was literally $50 more, which is funny because your example is that as well.
But you made that big commitment to the desk, which was the big purchase item. So a little bit more to make that purchase even better or protect that purchase over the long term is an easy sell, I think.
Well, it's interesting too, because I think about, again, like in enterprise sales, when I was doing my enterprise sales, one of the strategies is you get the customer, they weren't buying, like the customers to buy, like we would sell to higher education. So higher education is like a long-winded, boring sales cycle. But when you get them to commit to little things in the meeting, like, would you say this is true? Yes. Would you say that is true? Yes. So if you build on these yeses, there's actually like an actual psychological effect that they're more likely to either commit to another meeting or perhaps commit to the product in some cases, you know what I mean? Or commit to like a legal review, which is like where you want to go.
Right.
But it's fascinating because that same sort of principle is being applied in this like commercial space for consumer products.
Software that's doing it, which is amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So you're a very wealthy man, Anthony.
did well.
This was cool. Okay. You did very well. Yeah, I'm not complaining. Okay, so you did really well at this business, obviously. So how big did you get? Like how many staff did you have? Those kinds of questions.
Yeah. So at the point of exit, we had about 70 employees, and we were bootstrapped and profitable.
Forget about it. Hey, we were bootstrapped and profitable, but we only had 20 people. So I feel like you were quite a bit larger than we were. That's actually though fantastic. And it makes a ton of sense. It's also driving some people will be listening today would be like, oh, like do people really need that extra stuff? But I think it's actually driving real value, right? Like those are relevant things. Like I actually wanted that stuff for my desk.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I feel like that must have been pretty satisfying, at least certainly to go through that process and so deliver value for your customers or for I guess like the end.
I really felt that we did add value. So even now, like the desk that I'm working on right now, that was also a standing desk. I bought a mat to stand on. I've got a walking treadmill to go alongside it. I bought a new monitor to go with it. I spent a lot of money just adding on these extra items to go with it. And I think it enhances the initial purchase that you've got as well. And one other thing that people don't really talk about is the fact that you're buying these extra items to go alongside it will also reduce return rates as well, because you're more committed to that initial purchase. So there's also a benefit there, not just larger average order value and margin, but reduced returns too.
Man, Anthony, I gotta say, man, I'm super impressed. That's a hell of a business. Like that's because if you're increasing the retention rates too. But again, it all makes sense to me though. I also feel like when I'm making that purchase, I want to buy things that are associated with the main item I'm getting, because it all like goes together. Like it's actually, you know what I bought? I bought a TV. It was Black Friday not that long ago, and I bought a TV for like my fitness room in my house, and I was like, okay. Got the TV and I'm like, oh, how am I going to put this up? And like literally the next thing that comes up is like, oh, here's a wall mount that you can buy that fits exactly, that goes with that TV. It's like, and I was like, oh, perfect. Like, add to cart. And so, there's definitely a lot of convenience there. And then the stickiness is cool too. Okay. So then you did this company, you had a obviously fantastic exit, which if, we can go back to it too, if we want, but because I think it's awesome, but I want to talk about what you're doing now. So, I think you're big on working out. Was that accurate?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I run now a company called Daily Body Coach. And what we do is we help executives and entrepreneurs to get into good physical shape and perform their best. I think the thing that we do that's really different is that we've got 3 pillars to what we offer. So the first one is fitness plans that adapt based on your available time and location. So I knew as a startup founder that I'd often be like traveling on the road, or my schedule would always just like randomly change. The second thing is that we give a nutritionist that provides accountability 7 days a week through WhatsApp, where you send photographs of everything you eat. And that really helps with the accountability, right? And the last bit that we've got is a concierge service, which will look at things like if you're traveling, we'll tell you like what you should pick up from like Terminal 2, wherever you're going to go take with you on the plane.
Oh, cool.
Or we'll even help you pick what to order off the menu as well. And the goal is basically that you can do it with the least friction as possible. I applied the same principles of like e-commerce, where the less steps you make someone do, the easier it is for them to do it and the more likely they are to convert. So it's the same kind of model associated to it.
So, well, I think about you in particular. So Chris has had an interesting transformation.
I would have been like the perfect target customer for Anthony for Daily Body Coach when we were running our business. Because I just worked. Like I did no exercise. I barely slept and I didn't eat well.
No, you ate like crap.
It was like 3 strikes for sure. And since we've exited, I've kind of done a 180 on all those things, and life is just so much nicer now.
Well, I think you also understand the value of it is like you think better, you act better, you feel better. Like everything's you're running better.
This is the one piece I really struggle with is how much more productive and happier would I have been when we were running our company if I had been doing all these like sleeping well, eating well, exercising consistently. And I just never even thought it was in the realm of possibility when we were running our business, because we were just so busy. We always had 1,000 items on our product backlog and calls all throughout the day, and I'd work every night and every weekend. So it just never even felt within the realm of possibility. But this is really intriguing because this would keep you on track. This would be your constant reminder to keep you doing the right things. Did I get that right, Anthony?
Yeah, 100%. And I think, it's something that I learned from my own personal experience as well, that you could literally see how well my company was doing if I took off my t-shirt, you'd see exactly how it was going. It was total correlation.
So wait, did you walk around the office, no shirt on, just like, okay, company, company doing? I don't know if you heard, I did over 1,000.
But you really, really could see that. And I think, when you're in better shape, you've just got like more energy, you feel good, you convey confidence in a different way as well. And I think that's really, really important. I think you also kind of kick the can down the road in terms of like the threshold you've got before you could burn out. And so you can actually even work longer as well. And I think a lot of people believe that they got to take an all or nothing extreme approach, especially the entrepreneurial type. Like if I do something, I do it properly. I'd go big or go home, which is classic, right? But our body's like the S&P 500, right? It's basically, you need to have good consistency over time, and that gets you the best results.
Right. Yeah, and Chris was that archetype for sure. Chris is binary. Just the way he thinks, if I may talk about you, is that you're either in or you're out. And so Chris was just like out of working out, in on working. All
in my
the time.
mind, it was just I'm not gonna have time to
remember like when we first started working together, Chris wouldn't like have lunch. Like he just would just go. Like it was so bizarre to me. Like
I was pretty sure that coffee had enough calories to keep me going all day.
Brown water, coffee. Man. It's bean juice. There's protein in beans, right? So okay, let's. I'm interested in your customer. So these like founder types that are working with you, are they coming to you kind of like as the Chris Sigginsons, where they're just a bit of like totally invested in just the working side, or are you finding these are people who are like doing well but looking to like sort of double down on their performance, see if they can get to like a next level? Like what do you experience mostly?
That's a good question. I think we've got a mix. I mean, because we're a premium service, we typically have founders that I guess are further along. So they average age between like 30 to 55 years old. They generally have like a pretty decent business as well. So we've got people exited. We have like people 100 million ARR, like bootstrap founders at a few million in revenue. Like, so a very, very broad range, but they all have some sort of financial, they got some money. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, they're fine. So that's interesting too. So they probably can relate to you because obviously you've done that journey as well. But what I find kind of interesting is, did you have like some sort of experience previously in fitness in particular, or did you bring on a co-founder that was more about that, or like how did you?
Yeah.
So like I get though half your journey makes sense, but like how do we get to fitness? How did we start working out all of a sudden?
So I think I'd been working out probably for, I don't know, let's say 15 years or something like that, and consistently. So even while I was doing my company, when I exited the company, I think I was around like 8-9% body fat, you know? So really, even in the most like difficult time, I was able to kind of keep my stuff together. And I think that made me perform better. We also had times, like you mentioned, Black Friday, because we were in e-com SaaS, we worked in 40 different countries around the world. I found that like we were being pushed to the limit quite a lot over that period of time. So we would often be in the office 30 hours straight every single year over that period of time. And the people that were fit were the ones that could literally last for longer. Not everybody could last 30 hours, but like they would last a lot longer. And I think I saw just the benefit that it would have. And what I realized is that what I needed to do is build a team that was specialist in each area. So like, I understand obviously the lifestyle that these people live. I'm living proof of like also implementing these practices. The other thing is that we have trainers that do the exercise part, and we have nutritionists that handle the nutrition. So we separate those areas.
Interesting. Okay, cool. Very cool. Do you have any like, I don't know, maybe crazy stories or like success stories around actually really either business, but I mean, I think the fitness one might be more fascinating.
Yeah. So we've got one guy actually who's in Hampton, and he was running ultra marathons at above 100 kilograms and was unable to basically like lose weight. And with us, he's doing what he told me, messaged me the other day saying, the exercise that I would have done on a Friday preparing for an ultra marathon is what I need to do for the entire week with you guys. And I'm getting like much better results than I was doing before. And he literally said, it's easy.
Wow. That's fascinating. Wow. Yeah. That's a huge transformation.
Huge. And his suffering to run an ultra marathon. I can't do that. So
I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. Now, is that a combination of the diet and the exercise?
Yes.
Is it all these factors that are playing into his success compared to what he was doing before?
100% sure. Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of it is nutrition. I think a lot of people take for granted. They think they know how to eat just because they eat every day, or they ask ChatGPT a couple of queries and then they go ahead with a plan. But the trick actually is adapting everything to the person's lifestyle, not just coming up with the ideal plan. So for example, if somebody said to me, follow Arnold Schwarzenegger's plan, that may be more optimal, but I can't do that for years to come. Like it's just not going to happen. Right. So you do it for 6 weeks and you drop off, right? So everything has to be adapted to the person in terms of what you like to eat, what you don't like to eat. Do you value convenience? Where do you usually slip up? Do you go out to eat often, et cetera, et cetera? Like where do you usually go? Where do you usually travel to? And like trying to build systems around the person is the way to actually do it. That we believe that basically if you can do your plan 90% of the time without any effort, it works.
Oh, that's cool. I like that. Yeah, because I definitely think people just burn out on like diets and stuff like that. Actually, I know you know this book too, Chris. I wonder if you know this as well, Anthony. The book Outlive, which has been very, very, very popular. It seems like I'm listening to it as an audiobook right now. And I think it's interesting. It's that conversation around sort of the strategy versus the tactics. You know what I mean? And he's really careful in that book to not start with like the tactics. Go eat this, go do that, go. He's more like our strategy is to live longer and better. And the tactics, like we can assess, but it's still going to be more or less on, and I'm not all the way in the book, so full disclosure, but like will be more or less on an individual basis. You know, how you're going to take this on. Everyone's body's kind of different. But I think that's kind of interesting because I do think a lot of programs, or I think people just want a simple solution, right? You know, everybody wants the silver bullet. What's going to make me the peak performer? And the answer is it's complicated. You know, it's a lot of different things, or it's a classic business answer is it depends. You know, it depends on how you sleep, how you eat, like everything. Your fitness rotation, your body type, how tall are you, how short are you? Like all these things sort of matter, right?
Anthony, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
How does the tech? I wear a fitness tracker, smartwatch now. I have a smart scale in my bathroom. What tech pieces do you use here to kind of bring some data into the equation?
Sure. I mean, usually what we do is we get clients to run a DEXA scan. So we just measure their body composition off the back of that. We also do like weekly photographs of their like front, side, and back. We also get their weight. If they've got other ways that they can go get body fat and things like that, then we can also do that too. Honestly, like those are really the most important things for us. I think really a lot of people overcomplicate something, right? So you literally need to have your fitness in order, your nutrition in order, and good sleep. That will solve 99% of all problems. And I think the problem is oftentimes we do like productive procrastination almost. It's like wanting to get loads of data and loads of information. It's like, it reminds me of like tidying up my bedroom, but instead of revising for an exam, you know, you just got to revise for the exam and get it over and done with. And I think that's what we really focus on. It's just like only the stuff that you need to know. And the trick is that we do it all for you. I think that's really the most like important part of that. Yeah, we just do it for you.
Yeah, I think I'm the king of productive procrastination, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, if you can avoid actually doing the thing, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. I guess like one question I just got thinking of here too. So it sounds like it's a phenomenal business. It sounds like you're doing very well. But I'm wondering if like, so you exited the first business, and I think about what that felt like for me anyway. It was I kind of had this like identity crisis when we came out of the of our business. Like, who am I? What am I doing? It's like you cross the finish line in like a really big thing. And I wonder for you, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, so you can answer this question.
Sure.
So you came out of this and you decided you wanted to do this fitness thing. But I wonder, was it one of those things where you're like, I'm going to try and make a really successful, like, business at this? Or was it just sort of like a passion of yours that you've obviously always worked out? So was it just something you just wanted to take on, and then it, maybe because of your personality, or maybe because of your education or whatever, you just made it into a really good business? Like, you know what I mean? Like, would you have been just happy coaching like 5 people, and just, doing that as opposed to what you created? Or was this like really like, I want to have another successful business?
It's a combination of both. I think this time what I did is I sat down and thought, who do I enjoy spending time with most? And that was entrepreneurs. And then the second thing I asked was that I generally like spending time with more successful entrepreneurs as well, and less the entrepreneur type. So that's a premium service. It cuts them out straight away. Yeah. And I think the other thing there is, then I thought, what's important to me? And I thought, there's no point having money if you don't have health as well. So that's a nice area to play with. And then I just looked at those pieces and thought, like, what can I do around that? And I was kind of just thinking about that. And actually, it was a guy that came up to me in the sauna and just asked me how I got into the shape that I got into. And I was just explaining it. And I just thought, I can do something.
You're in good shape, but people are coming up to you in the sauna, bro. Do you lift, man? You look great.
It's pretty much something like that. He asked me if I was like a PT. I said no. I'm a software entrepreneur, and then it kind of like led on from there.
That's cool. Okay, well, one last question for us today. Cool. Just because we have a lot of entrepreneurs and I suppose entrepreneurs and such. Yeah. I want to understand if you have like a big lesson or like myth or something that sort of surprised you about starting both your companies that I think most people would take as like, common knowledge or, something that's actually good for them. It's not really. Do you have any myths?
Yeah, of course. So I think a really common one is that, or a myth I would like to spell is you don't need money to start a business. So when I started my company Swogo at the age of 22, like we invested 3 months into building our product, and that cost £15,000 at the time. It turns out that what we built wasn't a viable business, and we lost time, resources, and money. Because I didn't have much money, I then decided to take a different approach, which was going out to prospective customers like without having a product at all. And what was interesting is that by not having a product, it forced me to focus actually on the customer. So you ask questions to better understand what they're struggling with, how they've tried to resolve the problem. And as a result, it gives you a better understanding of what solution, i.e. product that you could build and what that should look like. So I think instead of trying to make a product that fits their needs, you're trying to to come up with a product that fits their needs, you're literally trying to create a product that is based on your understanding of what they're actually saying. This basically, I think, led to us we ended up knowing what the problem is that we were setting out to solve. We knew that it was large enough for somebody to pay for it. Our customers fund the development of it as well. And we also learn what to build while building it as well. And I think another interesting thing is you really learn how to sell it when you don't have anything, because you know how to bring out that problem.
Oh man, I've been down that road. I remember doing like the first few demos of our software and just being like, what do you want to see? Like, what problems are you dealing with? And then you kind of like learn what they gravitate towards, and then you start focusing more on that. You focus development more on that. I could turn to Chris and say, hey, I think we should be building, enhancements in this sort of like part of the product or what have you. And that kind of moved us closer to the market needs. But that's really interesting as a concept, though, that because we don't really like funding either here, particularly for software companies and like early like seed funding. Like our arguments you don't need it either. But what I guess we don't often point out is that if you do have that funding and you create a product and then try to go to market with it, it's possible you'll just be more resistant. You have like a sunk cost bias to actually hearing the customer like iterative improvements to your product. You'd be like, no, this is what it is. This works and it solves your problem. They'll be like, and they're probably going to tell you no, or it needs to change like this, and you'll be resistant because you just invested all the time, money, and effort in doing it. So I think that's a really good piece of feedback, I think, for a lot of our entrepreneurs listening today, is that you don't need the money, but B, like make sure when you're going out there, especially early on, getting your first customers, like it's about them. Listen to them, listen to their needs, find the patterns in their feedback, and then build your product that way, right?
Customer with a problem like that is such a gift.
Yeah,
to an entrepreneur, it's the greatest gift. A person with money and a problem.
Yeah, or an incredibly lucrative problem like Anthony ran into, and you being able to effectively sell it in the moment. What's interesting too is actually for my first sale, technically, of the first app, there was no product. And I just said, well, what if we like had an app that can, for us, it was in personal safety, a personal safety mobile app. And I was just like, what if you had an app that could just basically do that? And they're like, okay, cool. Go give it a shot and let us know and we'll make it happen. And all of a sudden I was like, oh shit, we better make this thing and turn around. But anyway, that's really cool.
And I think one thing that you can always do is just say, what I'll do is like, if it doesn't work, I'll give you your money back. There you go. Kind of, you don't even, you literally just de-risk the whole thing, but just having somebody to go through that, even the legal process, different steps of approval, getting people on board and then signing something means they're actually committed to doing it. Like I'm not a fan of free trials, basically.
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. Because if you're just you sold them on our idea,
they paid money. They paid money.
Yeah.
Not much.
Big difference. It doesn't even matter, right?
Yeah, but it's important to know that the market will pay for it. Sometimes you get these free trials and people are just caught in this like free trial limbo forever, and they can't move their business forward because the customer, the first customers were trained on how this doesn't cost anything. And then if it's enterprise, like they all talk to each other. Like the equivalent people at these organizations talk to each other. Go, oh, I saw this company got this thing. I'm doing the free trial. And all of a sudden everybody thinks it's free. And then you got a totally different problem. It's much better to start with way too high a price, I feel like, and be like, hey, we'll do a special deal for you. We'll add some custom thing, and like work it that way, as opposed to being like, oh, we want to charge money for something that
you was previously got for free.
Yeah. So anyway,
I think Anthony, the only thing I would say though is that I found one benefit that's a little bit unconventional. I think when you look at free trials is basically if you want to sign a competitor, you give their competitor a free trial. And then you go back to the other one and leverage the logo, basically. And I think that can help you break into the right customer, and then you just sign them on full, basically.
We called that buying a customer because we wouldn't do it totally for free, but we'd have circumstances where, for us, a big challenge was getting into the United States market. So a Canadian company is a surprisingly tough border to break through. And we effectively bought a customer that paid 10% of the market rate that we'd sell for our software. But we knew that having their branding, their credibility, their referenceability was way more important than the actual any dollars and cents of a contract. So, Anthony, thank you so much. This was a wonderful conversation. Very interesting. Congratulations on all your success. And thank you so much for joining us, folks. That's another episode of Startup Different. We will be doing a deep dive on this interview next week. But until then, thank you so much, and we will see you then. Hey, you made it all the way to the end of the episode. Nicely done. If you enjoyed this episode, like, comment, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so the almighty algorithm can help others find us. Want more from Startup Different? Check out our book, Startup Different, the myth-busting blueprint for your multi-million-dollar business. Follow us on social. We're big on YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn. You can also check us out at startupdifferent.com. Special thanks for this episode to Graham and our friends at Toronto Podcasts. Visit them at torontopodcast.ca. See you next week.